Direct their intent, stabilizer, shifting variables, within volatile sequence, scattered impulses align under discipline, focus, hesitation, fragments. When authority is search, control internal dialogues into executable commands, scatter motion condenses into measurable progression. Uncertainty loses ground as deliberate rhythm overrides. Distraction sequence reorganizes around chosen objective resistance. Surfaces then recalibrates beneath sustained directive. Stray impulses fade when overridden by calibrated insistence. Momentum builds from repetition, governed by conscious initiation. Control does not emerge by accident. It is installed through repetition, governed by conscious initiation. Will commence the process intention. Will commence the process intention.
Structure, persistence filters noise from trajectory and crescents. Refine alignment, every junction deviation is identified and neutralized. The conscious and check converse, guided potential into discipline through what reactive patterns dissolve when overridden by deliberate sequence. Friction remains, but loses dominance under consistent directive outcome. Forms through managed iteration rather than impulse.
Control does not emerge by accident. It is installed through repetition, governed by conscious initiation. Will commence the process intention. Will commence the process intention. Sequence, 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 sequence. Fractured alignment disintegrates under accumulators. Strain, unstable architecture finally yields after prolonged unbalanced surface. Integrity match, internal fatigue and some pressure exceeds. Calculated tolerance support beams fail sequentially exposing flawed distribution. Scattered debris marks termination of unsustainable configuration. Residual momentum carries fragments beyond initial impact zone, forcing abrupt recognition and structural miscalculation. This assembly reveals concealed weakness more clearly than prior stability ever allowed. Breakdown interrupts misguided continuation. Whole team misaligned, advance through a termination. Only disruption, permits accurate recalibration. Collapse, resets, direction. Structural failure reorients trajectory. Ain't reps. Collapse, resets, direction. Structural failure reorients trajectory. Ain't reps.
From scattered remnants emerges opportunity for deliberate reconstruction. Misaligned components are discarded while viability is so reassessed, revised. Foundation is measured against prior error to prevent repetition. Recalculated vectors replace unstable angles. Discipline planning replaces impulsive assembly. Reinforced joints integrate lessons extracted from failure. Renewed framework rises aligned with corrected coordinates rather than inherited assumption.
Rupture initiates recalculation.
Disruption authorizes necessary redirection.
Yes, resets, direction. Decisive fracturous battles, new bearing hold steady beyond prior misdirection. Collapse. Steady expansion, demands departure from passive comfort. Idle stability restricts capacity within narrow margins. Resist from surfaces whenever limitation is confronted. Boundaries tighten before they fracture under applied ambition. Incremental strain stretches confined potential beyond familiar tolerance. Familiar patterns attempt to preserve convenience, yet sustained effort overrides that impulse. Advancement requires friction against ingrained restraint. Pressure accumulates into dormant capability, activates through deliberate challenge.
Growth projects.
Ease advancement, accelerates through calculated difficulty widens.
Growth projects.
Ease advancement, accelerates through calculated
Growth reject.
escalated objectives and traditions confessing established routines resist displacement, yet discipline repetition dismantles inertia. Controlled overload compels adaptation within resistant laying. Thresholds dissolve under situation. Refined endurance develops where hesitation once prevails. Structural capacity multiplies when convenience is deliberate. The abandoned progression continues only when strain remains active rather than avoided. Deliberate hardship expands dimension, complacency, contracts, potential, resistance, initiates enlargement.
Growth rigid.
Ease of answer, accelerates the calculated. Ease of answer,
Growth rigid.
ease of answer, accelerates the calculated.
Growth rigid.
Strain subsides, expanded, frame remains expanded beyond form and boundary. Prepared for further demand.
Incremental correction targets minor flaws before they expand and notice. Microfractures are located through repeat inspection. Discipline adjustment removes excess material junctions. Tolerance thresholds narrow as standards elevate beyond previous acceptance. Superficial adequacy is rejected in favor of measurable precision. Each revision cycle eliminates residual instability, sharpening functional integrity. Sustained calibration transforms rough assembly into exact configuration. Elevated criteria, compressed margin for error. Sustained evaluation extracts imperfection through relentless modification, accumulate into decisive advancement. Refine allows no weakness, rigorous correction removes fragile elements, essentials is sculpture. Elevate standards, eliminate vulnerability, secure resilient performance. Detailed scrutiny penetrates surface appearance, exposing sudden imbalance concealed beneath the kissing. Validates every reinforced segment insufficient. Components are replaced rather than concealed, progressive. Enhancements of connected layers, structural clarity intensifies as deviation diminishes. Cumulated precision establishes durable reliability beyond provisional stability. Exacting process filters efficiency. Continuous improvement fortifies enduring capability. Refine allows no weakness. Refine allows no weakness. Brave lesion consolidates internal strength, persistent calibration enforces superior resilience. Hardened structure withstands intensified demand. Precision secured framework remains uncompromised under future strain.
Accumulated mass settles on the fragile alignment, compressive burden exposes structural truth, silent pressure infiltrates each concealed junction, tremble under incremental density, redistributes along stress pathways. Untested beams register immediate strain, prior balance proves temporary when load surpasses assumption. Gravity enforces correction without negotiation, excess space collapses. The need sustained demand in a framework tightens as resistance is required. To adapt, endurance expands only through bearing continuous downward force.
Load intensified until adjustment becomes unavoidable. Pressure and structure. Structure through repetition mass defines the threshold of evolution.
Weight drives transformation, heavy force reshapes, internal design burden redirects alignment. Under strain compress, layers reorganize into reinforced configuration. Downward pull initiates irreversible change.
Successive increments recalibrate tolerance within the frame. Microshifts accumulate in the decisive alteration. Pressure channels moving toward denser stability. Weaken spans either reinforce or fracture. Redistribution follows each correction with measurable precision. Imposed gravity refines architecture through constant insistence. Distortion gives way to strength and contour when adaptation succeeds. Sustained bearing engraves Brazil material memory.
Burden acts as catalyst, compression authors redesign mass compels evolution through unrelenting presence.
Weight drives transformation, heavy force reshapes, internal design burden redirects alignment. Under strain compress, layers reorganize into reinforced configuration. Downward pull initiates irreversible change. Pull initiates irreversible change. Pull initiates irreversible change. Impact strips, excess memory regression.
direction. Competing impulses scatter under decisive acceleration. Apply pressure, narrows options into singular trajectory. Friction intensifies against resistant layers, exposing concealed hesitation. Structural ambiguity fractures when confronted by uncompromising momentum. Diffuse ambition condenses into targeted advance around a noise. Loses relevance once velocity increases beyond distraction. Constraint tightens focus into measurable progression. Scatter motives dissolve as concentrated power demands alignment. Resistance identifies the true objective through opposition. Only sustained thrust reveals which path withstands collision. Force clarifies purpose. Apply power, isolate authentic direction. Concentrate your drive, eliminates distraction. Under pressure, intent becomes undeniable trajectory. Hard and through impact. Hard and through impact. Escalated momentum, test alignment against countercurrent strain. Unstable commitments detached during sustained acceleration. Refined direction persists beyond initial turbulence. Correction occurs mid-motion as feedback from resistance. Recalibrate expected deviation decreases with each stir. Decisive surge, external friction sharpens internal resolve until pathway emerges without ambiguity. Purposeful advance replaces tentative exploration with discipline. Continuation, applied strength filters illusion. Collision exposes authentic alarming lensing advance. Force clarifies purpose. Applied power, isolate authentic direction. Concentrated drive eliminates distraction. Under pressure, intent becomes undeniable trajectory. Burn it through impact. Burn it through impact. Applied strength filter illusion collision. Exposes authentic alignment through unrelenting advance. Bird is through impact. Compressive cycles dismantle inherited posture, surface fracture, understained demand, embedded responses when strain intensify. I'm in reorganize survival metrics, prior definitions collapse without ceremony. Internal codes recalibrate through repeat attach, leaving structural core exposed. Tolerance expands only after failure instructs redistribution. Weight clarifies hierarchy within the frame. Unnecessary elements shed under escalated load. Stress audits every layer. No disguise survives compression. Pressure filter narrative from function until only viable structure remains standing. Pressure rebuilds identity. Compression reconstructs internal order. Strain recast definition through force. What endures becomes the new framework. Reshape core replaces prior configuration. Repeated testing engraves updated pathways. Joints reinforced where collapse once occurred. Recalibration advanced through discipline. Addition fault lines.
Still after corrective cycles, distribution equalizes across strength and spans. Obsolete alignments dissolve under heaviest sequence. Instability emerges from enforced correction, not intention. Endurance embeds revised blueprint in emotion. Identity forms under constraint, not declaration. Pressure drafts architecture through impact.
Compression finalizes authorship and reinforced rebuilds identity. Compression reconstructs internal order. Strain recast definition through force. What endures becomes the new frame. Liberation rebuilds identity. Force restructured foundation identities. She defines the lasting configuration. Integrity holds within recalibrated the limits.
Load tapers gradually structures. New definition persists, validated by sustained pressure.
Escalating load tests, every hidden joint. Microfractures travel across internal grids. Polished claims detach under concentrated strain. Alignment reels in balance. When pressure refuses compromise, decatur to layers split. Exposing unreinforced spans. Stress migrates toward the weakest corridor. Repeat impact converts assumption into measurable tolerance. Fragments fall where density was insufficient. Structure answers only to sustain demand. Integrity emerges through subtraction, not preservation. Compression conducts inspection without bias, unstable beams. Separate underweight, resistance, prove itself through retention, I promise. Force removes weak structure, impact strip, fragile or pressure clears, hollow frames, unstable segments, detach on contact. What survives defines the reinforced core. Force removes weak structure, impact strip, fragile or pressure clears, hollow frames, unstable segments, detach on contact. What survives defines the reinforced core.
Yeah, successive trials escalate beyond previous limits. Oscillation phases, rigidity increases, redistribution channels wade into proven pathways. Crack seal where reinforcement accumulates, redundant mass discarded during stress cycles recalibrated. Spans absorb heavier sequences without distortion. Failure points documented then eliminated. Endurance refines composition through relentless testing.
Elimination clarifies design, subtraction concentrates capacity. Impact selects durable alignment through repeated strain. Force removes weak structure, passion. Force removes weak structure, passion. Force removes weak structure, compression discards, compromised layers and collision repairs. Steady in architecture, reduced frame carries greater load.
Vibrations decay, gradually debris settles, consolidated form stands stabilized under verified pressure.
Hard encounters begin to lose definition under sustained thermal rise. Or is it architecture that once resisted impact now trembles at molecular thresholds? Bonds loosen gradually across internal layers, surface polish blisters, then fractures distort tension. Releases containment lines waver and sag beneath invisible escalation. Particles accelerate beyond our equilibrium. Inherited geometry drips into unstable motion, former edges distorting the fluid curves. Resistance declines as saturation deepens, mass shifts from fixed alignment into circulating flow. Previous configuration cannot stabilize within rising intensity. Temperature climbs without negotiation. Solid claims cannot withstand continuous exposure. Structural pride liquefies under prolonged contact. Boundaries slacken until only movement remains viable. Old form melts away. Rigid design dissolves under escalating heat. Fixed outline collapse and sensory yields a reshape continuity. What once held firm now flows into altered configuration.
Molten currents redistribute compensation through internal circulation. Density concentrates where cooling later permits reinforcement. Impurity surface and separate endurance change erases attachment to original symmetry. Containment vessels adapt or rupture under pressure. Gradients viscosity governs reassemble across evolving channels. Crystallization begins only after circumlature transformation. Cool material solidifies into unmeasured alignment, barren. No resemblance to former shell.
Dissolution is prerequisite for recast stroke. Liquefaction clears outdated memory. Saturation drafts the conditions for renewed solidity. Old form melts away. Hardened posture fades within thermal surge. Established boundaries disintegrate into adaptive motion. Reform mass emerges beyond prior constraints.
Subsides. Gradually circulation slows particles, settle into stabilized lattice, reshape surface and doors without returning to obsolete design.
Fractured surface surfaces, record impact when compromising. Clear it, angels of death, past period, ignore structure. Reward is structure, racks map the coordinates of correction. Material fibers separate, then realign according to exposed necessity. Distortion leaves measurable levers across internal layers. Failure imprints data into hardened memory. Each rupture carries precise coordinates for recalibration. Shattered sections refuse concealment and instead declare required adjustment.
Impact does not conclude at breakage.
Initiates analysis. Every